Hello everybody, how are you doing today? NarP3 here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'll give you a little backstory to this, but essentially it's going to be an extremely simple timer using Adobe Flash ActionScript. Now I believe it only works in ActionScript 2.0, but you might be able to get it to work in 3.0 if you do things a little bit differently. And the reason I'm doing this tutorial is I was looking around when I'm still learning ActionScript stuff, but I was looking around for an easy timer that would just count down or count up or whatever. And there was no tutorials on something that was simple. It was always just kind of like, okay, we'll look at this and then copy and paste this code into your program and hope for the best. So essentially what I'm going to be showing you is the basics of this little program, this little application that I made, which is just a simple timer. It counts up, it's got an alarm, you can set for different amounts of time, and then as you can see there, hopefully that wasn't too loud, it plays a little alarm. So that is what we're going to be doing. So first off, obviously you're going to start a new ActionScript 2.0 file, and I like changing the background to the stage color to black just because it looks nicer, and I don't know, I just like it that way, at least for working on it anyways. So we're gonna get started, and first thing we're gonna do is go into our timeline and actions and throw in the stop command. Save it. That way if we add anything else behind it, it won't play through, and that'll just save us for later. Now of course you can adapt this for whatever situation you'd like, if it's in a game and whatnot. So we're going to start out with static text. Use whatever font you would like. I'm going to use this Lithos Pro because I think it looks pretty sick. And we're just going to add a title or someplace that we can dump a lot of our code in. Now I suppose you could do this down in the frame itself, but I prefer doing it up in here. So we're going to call it the super simple timer of awesomeness. And I probably spelt that wrong, but not to worry. So we're going to take that, we're going to adjust the size, right about that, fit that in a bit better, extremely long title, and there. So from there, we're just going to select that, go F8, or right click and convert to symbol. We're going to call it title, or in other words, a movie clip. Doesn't matter where the registration is, it's just a place to dump our code. And instance name, it'll be title. There we go. So then we're going to go on to create some dynamic text boxes. I'd suggest using a different font unless you want to embed the title font and the number font in a special way, and I'll cover that in a second here. I like that font, so I'm gonna go boom. This will be that box right there will be minutes, but for sure I'm gonna go min, and we're gonna set the variable to min as well. Actually, we don't want capital min because I believe in text in here. Oh, I thought min might have stood for minimum or something, and then that would have messed around with stuff. So we've got our minute box, and again we'll create another one of those and call it sec. And sec for that as well. So those are basically our two boxes, and I'll even add an hour one just for completeness. There we go. So I've got all of our boxes, and we're going to want to set this up in kind of an interesting fashion. Obviously the hour, minute, seconds format. But then, and just so you know, the timer I'm building here will simply be just what you get when you hit start here. It'll just be counting up, and I might even make one where it just counts down, and if you see here, it actually just runs at 1 frame per second. So that is essentially how this thing is made. Oh, sorry about that. So yeah. Anyways, as well, in all these boxes, we want them single line, because if they get too big, we don't want extra stuff showing, and that's just if you have a different frame rate than what we'll be using. So right off the bat, we're going to set our frame rate to 1. Now, if you are building this into some sort of other, like a game or whatever, excuse me, you can set the frame rate to something like, you want it easily divided by 1, or makes an even number when divided by 1. So throw the calculator up here, and so if you've got, because you want you want the timer to go up by 1 second, so it's like 30 frames per second, so you divide it by 30. That's not a very good number to increase your timer by. You'd probably want to go with something more like 50 frames, so that's 0.2, that's pretty nice and even, or even 60 frames, which is actually, no, not 60 frames, sorry. But yeah, 50 frames would probably be the best. 1 frame per second or 50, either one. I'll do 50 just for this tutorial, because I'm assuming you're probably going to be using this in a game. And we're not going to work on the aesthetic details at this moment. It's more or less the coding, which is the important stuff. So we're going to open up our title and the action script here, and we're going to go on clip event and then enter frame. That's all we want, just enter frame. So it enters frame, it enters the frame as many times per second as you set the frame rate. So in this case, it's 50 frames per second. And just a super side note here, guys. I am building this tutorial. I have the visual here, obviously, so you can, if you need help, you can look at it. But as well, all the source code will be included in a link in the description below, as well as available on my website, where you can check out all the other games and random junk I've created. But my goal for this tutorial is for you to be able to listen and code at the same time. So I will be reading out a lot of what I'm typing, just so you can be doing this at the same time as you're watching this, because I hate watching a tutorial and having to jump back and forth because I'm not sure what they did. So I will try and describe things as much as possible. And of course, it does help to be familiar with ActionScript. So on clip event, enter frame. That is what we want. So we're going to go _root. Our seconds, actually, we're going to start with seconds first. So we called that sec. _root dot sec equals plus 0. We want plus equals 0.02. So we're just going to go into here, and you see how we got, I'll just load it up again, the underscore level, and as well as reading out in our output. So what we're going to want to do here is just exit that and embed this font for these ones. And instead of just embedding it just like this, how I normally would do it, I'm going to call it time, and then we're just going to go numerals. So that'll just embed the numbers, so if we wanted, we could turn that into the same font and it would be alright. So now our output is gone and we just get 0.0 and whatnot. So in our frame here, we're going to go into actions, enter, and then we're going to go sec. Did I capitalize that? I'll just start with hour. Hour equals 0. Min equals 0. And then sec equals 0. So just all those are equal to 0. So then you see when we load it up here, which is Control Enter if you're not familiar with all the keyboard shortcuts, it gives us our hours, seconds, and minutes all in zeros. So that is exactly what we want here. And then we'll just adjust this coding, make it it's all good. So then we've got this, and I believe I am missing out on something here. Let me just check quickly. I'm gonna use this target function here, and capitalization was off. So this whole object, this pattern, you can get past that by just doing root, and there we go. See, now it increases, and I don't know, I kind of like how it has the hundredths and the milliseconds or whatnot there. But unless you have an infinitely large text box, something like that, it's gonna look pretty funny when it just jumps around a lot. So the way to get around this is just type in your text box here, and the two biggest numbers you'll have in there is 59 and stuff like that. So you just want to get it sized just so it's big enough for those, and then when you open it up, erase that stuff, of course. When you open it up, you just get the seconds there, and unfortunately you get the dot, which is a side effect of having it at this frame rate. You can play around with other frame rates. I might include an annotation on the screen of all the good frame rates that would work. But you see, once it gets past like 10, it goes pretty well. And I might even throw up a time signature on the video, or you can just look down in the little box down here on YouTube there to see how well it actually lines up with like the seconds. And basically I'm just trying to say it keeps time fairly well. So next we're going to go into this, back into our title, and we're going to type in here if underscore root dot sec is greater than, so that's the I don't know, you should know what greater than is, I'm hoping, otherwise you failed math and this probably isn't for you. Greater than 59, because we don't want it to go to 60 seconds and back to down to 0 or 1 second, because that will put it 1 to 2 seconds at a time. So say if forgot a bracket here, if underscore root dot sec is greater than 59, actually 59.99, because we do have that 0.002 thing in there. So if it's greater than that, we say underscore root dot min plus equals 1. There we go. So unfortunately, a lot of the testing and debugging for this will take quite a while, so I'll probably speed it up right about now. Okay, as you can see, we're coming up here to where it's going to work, and oh boy. See what we did there? Now, every second over that is going to increase that by 1, so 50 times per second, that's going up by 1. So now to fix that is, we're going to add another line here, underscore root dot sec is equal to, back down to, I believe we want 1, 59, and then 1, 2, yeah. So that goes back down to 1, or 0, sorry. There, so now when we do that, things will work out properly. Just take my word for it. We'll do one final debug test after we get the bulk of our coding down here. So, with that all set up, we're going to continue here. So, under that whole section that we just wrote, I'm going to throw in if underscore root dot min is greater than sorry about that, excuse me, greater than 59, then underscore root dot hour plus equals 1, and then underscore root dot min is equal to 0. So there. Now obviously I'm not going to wait around for an hour to test this out, but I mean, hey, if you've got enough free time to do that, be my guest. And essentially, guys, this will be this right here, this whole 12 lines of code plus the 4 on the frame, so that's 16 lines of code, is a simple timer.